Him is directed by Justin Tipping and stars Marlon Wayans, Tyriq Withers, and Julia Fox. It's produced by Jordan Peele via his Monkey Paw Productions. Now, at the surface, this movie serves as an indictment of football, the violence involved with the game, and the sacrifice everything mentality, including your health and body, and the by any means necessary attitude. I mean, it's pretty obvious. The problem with this movie is that the script does a horrible job of communicating those themes. Withers plays Cameron Cade, who is destined to become the next GOAT, until he's attacked by a rabid fan and suffers a potentially career-ending injury. This scene is so poorly staged and, dare I say, misleadingly presented and out of context that it had me thinking I was on board with where this film is going, but I couldn't have been more wrong. But in my defense, the direction of this movie is such that it's almost impossible to follow what's going on. So Cameron is brutally attacked with blunt force trauma to the head. He recovers from that attack, but if I got it right, he missed all of the combines and everything where they get to where the players that want to get drafted get to show their stuff. Cameron's attack is graphically shown by massive staples in his head, and everyone is a little bit afraid to draft him because they don't know if he is going to have a permanent injury. However, his sports agent gets him an opportunity to train with the legendary Isaiah White, the quarterback for the fictional San Antonio Saviors. Isaiah really believes that Cameron can be the next GOAT, can take his place, because what happened is Isaiah had a pretty much career-ending injury. It's pretty graphic. He's not sure how longer he can play, so he wants to kind of pass the mantle on, and Cameron is his pick. And if Isaiah likes what Cameron does during his private audition, if you will, he'll all but guarantee Cameron a spot on the team, replacing him as the star quarterback. Now, from the minute Cameron arrives at White's training compound, which is located in the middle of nowhere in the desert, everything seems off. A crazy fan with Joker-like makeup jumps at the limo that's carrying Cameron to the outskirts of the compound. Other fans are encamped outside, half naked or dressed up as insane-looking mascots. He gets out of the car, goes to the front door, which is in like this bunker. It looks like a nuclear bunker. But there's no one to greet him at the door of the compound, but the door whooshes open. No one is there. It's all dark. He enters and discovers that the compound is buried underground. And yet he still gets on the elevator and goes down underground, which led me to believe that Cameron Cade has got to be the dumbest person ever to lead a horror movie. Definitely, and I'm going to go there, the dumbest person with even a drop of black people blood in him. Right away, he meets Isaiah in what looks like a concrete slaughterhouse. Isaiah is surrounded by bleached animal skulls and bones that he claims he killed himself. Okay. In a much better script, this would have been an interesting character trait. This guy who kills his own buffalo, looks like the skulls were, or bison, or goat, who knows, goats maybe. It would have been an interesting character trait that would have some relevance to the story, but not here. And that brings me back to the main issue with this movie. Virtually nothing makes sense. Things that happen aren't explained, they just happen. So much weird mystery is set up that doesn't even begin to pay off. And while the mystery kept building and building, and it was very intriguing, putting aside the fact that Cameron is stupid to keep putting up with it, and I would have been out of there, but I wouldn't even got out of the limo myself. But nonetheless, they got to tell their story, and I was intrigued by where is this going. But in the back of my mind, I knew they're not going to give me a satisfactory payoff. Isaiah subjects Cade to torturous passing drills with a practice squad of guys who appear suddenly out of nowhere. They're just there. They're kind of like Star Wars stormtroopers. They just only show up when the plot needs them to. No explanation who they work for. Are they employed by Isaiah? Do they live there? Are they former team members? Where did these guys come from that they would be willing to deal with what Isaiah puts them through? Cade undergoes daily injections, which apparently make him hallucinate, which gives the director of this movie an opportunity to throw all kinds of weird visuals at us, Visuals that don't really advance the plot, but make it impossible to determine if what we see happening is real or a hallucination. And I see this in movies all the time, and I hate it all the time. I absolutely hate it. There's a scene that takes place in a steam room where Cameron is attacked. And I won't say who attacks him, but the setup is so nuts, it's difficult to tell if it is a hallucination or real. Now, I'm not going to reveal which one it was, whether it was a hallucination or it really happened, but I'm guessing you'll be just as surprised by the outcome as I was. Do you remember the 2000 movie The Cell, starring Jennifer Lopez, directed by Tarsem Singh? Singh cut his teeth on music videos, and with the exception of David Fincher, I don't trust films from directors who started out doing music videos. Hello, Hype Williams and the movie Belly. Why do I say that? Because they bring a music video sensibility to these films which I can't stand. If I haven't made that clear, I can't stand it. Lots of disorienting quick cuts like a music video, cuts that would work in a music video but not in a narrative, unless it's called for. Visuals that look cool but do nothing, like I said, for the narrative. Just disorienting imagery used in a story where it's not necessary, to add more oomph to the plot, I guess. That's what this film is, a lot of mysterious setup, situations that aren't motivated, and the payoff for all of this is so not worth what I sat through for roughly an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, this movie is only an hour and 36 minutes, but it felt like a full 2 hours, if not more. There's a shot during a dinner party where the director takes the time to set up the shot where Cam and the other guests mimic the Last Supper, with Cam seated in the Jesus position. At that point, I was pretty much tapped out. This horror movie just relies on all of the ridiculous tropes with a horror movie that doesn't really have much to say, and that's just the quick cuts, double cuts, cutting back to the same action, making the screen blurry. Things come out of nowhere and then they disappear, so you're wondering, did that really happen, or was he hallucinating that? That is the whole nature of this film. Let's talk about the performances. Julia Fox, whom I wasn't familiar with, but got very familiar with her after watching this because I checked her out online. She's got the body of an OnlyFans model, and she's a pretty good actress as well. She's pretty good as Elsie, Isaiah's wife, who has an odd look, but there's no reasoning behind her look. But I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't mind. I liked what I saw. Anyway, I'll leave. That's for another video. She is a white woman married to a black star quarterback. That's Isaiah. So I suspected that there may have been subtle digs about race and the NFL, with a lot of black players in the NFL being married to white women, I suppose. There are also moments where Cameron's mixed race heritage is brought up. That's just my hot take. But whether there's something behind that or not, Julia Fox does a great job. Unfortunately, Tyriq Withers, the star of the movie, is the weakest link in the cast. Here's my impression of Tyriq Withers as Cameron Cade. With an occasional, that's how he would react when he wasn't looking like this, looking at weird stuff, like guys getting their face smashed in with footballs when he misses a pass. He's looking like this when things get really weird, as opposed to getting his ass out of there, okay? I say this to say he simply does not react the way any normal person would react under the bizarre circumstances that he encounters. Combine that with his willingness to go along with all of the crazy shit surrounding the action, and you have a character that I simply don't care about or believe in. Now, he does have a scene where he expresses regret about his past with his dad, and he convincingly cries in the scene. So I was at a loss with, why is he so bland in nearly every other scene? Thank God for Marlon Wayans. If I were Marlon Wayans' agent, I'd be scouring Hollywood looking for good dramatic scripts for this guy. He blew me away as Will's father in Bel-Air, the dramatic remake of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. he had a few episodes where he played Will's dad. He was amazing. I was like, oh my God, where's this? Because I don't think he's that funny. He's a little uneven as a comedian to me. But as a dramatic actor, I mean, he does this. And even though nothing he does really makes sense, that's the script's fault. And Marlon still sells it. He is brilliant in this movie. He's Jamie Foxx playing Ray brilliant. He should have taken over Will Smith's spot after that whole thing went down. And Will is kind of, I don't know, Will may be on his way out. And Marlon should be the guy to take his spot. I'm telling you. I need to see him in more dramatic roles because I predict if he found the right property, there would be Oscar talk for him. So the last act and the climax of the movie is a gratuitous bloodbath that seems to play for laughs. All the mystery, all the craziness up to that point is, I guess, revealed in this finale. And I kind of say it like that, like with a question mark on my voice, because it's like, that's what all this was leading to. It doesn't go any deeper than this. I was expecting a reveal along the lines of damn Yankees, Google it, and all I got was damn bullshit. I'm giving this movie 1 out of 5 reels. Worst movie I've seen this year. Well, I did see Eddington, and I don't know why that movie got all the raves it did. This movie is neck and neck with that movie as the worst movies I've seen this year. And what's sad is this movie had some great potential because football in the last few years has become fertile ground for dramatic storytelling. But instead of putting horror slants on any number of things worthy of exploring in the sport of football, kneeling for the anthem, the lack of black NFL owners, the script chooses to focus around a trite and boring issue that isn't very compelling or interesting. And it's a subject that, wow, okay, yeah, we've explored this. You brought nothing new to the table. But I will give it the compliment of having great set design. There are labyrinthine halls, an eerie football field, rooms that are murky and dark, looking like something from Blade Runner or Dune. I will give the DP her props, Kira Kelly, which back in the early 2000s, I had the pleasure, when she was on the come up, I had the pleasure of working on a project that she worked on, and clearly she went a lot further than I did because she is making money as a DP on these major projects, and I'm sitting here reviewing them. Okay, it doesn't all work out, but hey, anyway, even though it looks great, props to Kira, that's just not enough to make a film work. And given his respectable and cogent body of work in the horror genre thus far, I'm frankly surprised that producer Jordan Peele put his stamp of approval on this script. I mean, Get Out changed the game. If not for Get Out, I don't think we'd have a Sinners. Us and Nope, they were a little divisive, but they were interesting at least. They said something. This does not have anything interesting to say. I gave this film only 1 reel, and that's because, and I give it all only to Marlon Wayans. He's the only reason to see this film, but I recommend that you wait for streaming. Okay, there you have it. That's the Martini. Let me know what you think. As always, if you liked what I had to say, if you're still watching, I'm assuming you did at least want to hear what I had to say, well, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and share this clip with all your friends, okay? Help me out here, all right? So I'll see you guys soon. Take care and be safe out there.